All right, we're going to get started. Our next presentation is Empowering and Engaging Through Co-Creation, and our speaker is Jane Vita, Design Director of North America at Digitalist Canada. A little bio about Jane. With over 20 years of experience under her belt, Jane's used her expertise in many design competencies to work in projects for a range of different industries and countries. At Digitalist, she established the design unit in Vancouver and leads a team of 12 local designers. She also facilitates internal and external dialogue around service design as a global practice. In client projects, she acts as a lead consultant, helping customers discover their digital future. A little bit more. Previously, Jane conducted lectures on service design in digital context at the Laria University's Service Innovation and Design Master's Program, where she also graduated in 2013. And she's a PhD student right now, plus has a bachelor's in graphic design, overachiever, and another master's in web design. Wow, her bio just goes on and on. We're so lucky and happy to have her here today from Vancouver, Canada. Hopefully not Vancouver somewhere else. Vancouver, Canada. Please welcome Jane. Take it away. I'm going to mute myself.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Debbie, for the introduction. And sorry for the long bio. So today, first of all, of course, it's a pleasure to be here. And especially because I'm going to talk about co-creation, which is a practice, process, method, whatever we want to call it, that helps us to, do what we do as a designers and practitioners even better. So what I want to achieve today is actually to give you ingredients on how to empower and engage stakeholders, and of course customers as well through a co-creation, which is an integral piece of a service design practice. But you might be asking yourself, why co-creation? Because every individual, team, customers, and organization, they have like values, culture, things that sometimes they connect us, but also can set us apart. And this is not exclusively, from a specific industry, but that you probably be working on, but also it's a human thing. It will help also to solve conflicts. So co-creation will help us to understand people and concentrating the right things and whatever goal you're setting and your team is targeting. What I also want to achieve today is that we will be opening doors and disconstructing like some boundaries we are creating by some convenient fictions, things that we believe, and go more to the reality, why things are happening. And furthermore, help you to evolve in a culture of rapid knowledge creation and consensus building around opportunities become a necessity. So as Debbie told, I work for this company called Digitalist, and co-creation is the core of what we do here. I work also in other companies that we had co-creation as a very important piece of things that we are providing for our customers. And there's no way of better co-create than having multidisciplinary teams. And so you can see here a combination of design, technology, and business acting as visionaries, like enabling conversations and implementing future products and improving the existing ones. And to help us to establish a ground, I brought here CoCreation Definition from Prahalad and Hazmat Bami, and they wrote a series of articles around co-creation, and they define it as a practice of developing systems, products, and services through a collaboration with customers, managers, employees, and other company stakeholders. See, if you are familiar with co-creation, now we can for this definition, you see that sometimes we're not only involving customers, right? We need to understand other parts of a business who is involved and making them like capable to deliver as well, right? To be able to connect and establish dialogues. And to extend that, not only in their articles, Prahalad and Ramaswamy, they meant like the, sorry, but not only that, but they when they said like about connecting, they pointed an evident concern on the shift in that was happening in the industry. Sorry, that was happening in the industry. That we were coming from like a product dominant logic. Product dominant logic, and we make to a more service dominant logic. So we move from making people want things to make people things to make things people want. So this was the shift. But now, if you look at what 20 years are gone, and it's an excellent time for us to rethink this and think if we only doing what people need, it's actually the right thing, and but also thinking what kind of impact we are creating in their lives. So you're probably already facing and probably seeing a lot of things happening in the world that is questioning the kind of things we have been creating. So it's time for us to understand the impact. From now on, and before we launch any product service, let's also reflect and predict the impact of it. And not only that, but what would motivate people to engage with what is right and good for them, and of course, for the environment as well. As designers, and facilitators, like practitioners in the creative industry, we need to measure and understand things that we are producing in the more long term. So we talk about this consumer role, right? And the reality is that consumers are more informed. We have access to what is happening in the world. We build networks and we pick our communities of interest. We experiment more and select the best from what we have experienced. We are more concerned about the actions towards others and the impact we are creating as an individual on the planet and at our work as well. Besides, sometimes, of course, bad decisions, many people have good intention, and hopefully I'm right that people have good intention. But sometimes people might be using the wrong tools and close themselves in some bubbles of belief. So you might, sometimes you make decisions based in the context you are placed in. So you might not have the full picture. And what we are looking with the co-creation is it's something that in a traditional business thinking we don't do. So in a traditional business thinking, we start with the idea that the firm creates the value that will be provided through a choice of product and service. Consumers, they would represent a demand and firms' offerings. But the future of a business is based on an individual-centric co-creation of value between consumers and companies. We need to be able to provide a value that is truly unique to each individual that will experience our products and service. So it's like when we discuss about like meaningful things, right? So what is actually minimum? What creates value for the customer? The co-creation value challenges many of these existing managerial practices, right? Like more siloed, and a single functional discipline will remain secure. So to be able to do co-creation, managers, they must increase their understanding in the business as a consumers do, and stop marrying like looking at numbers or charts, right? They need to talk more with other people that are involved on this value creation. So then we come to what we call like a breaking the silos, and I'm like here saying breaking the silos, but we actually connecting silos, right? But you know, so there's, and we need to, so how we actually break the silos? We need to initiate and nurture a series of initiatives that can put these people together. We must engage with everyone that can contribute for a holistic picture, understanding of this ecosystem which our business and service are placed, where they live, right? Understanding the multiple perspectives of this helps us to deliver value to customers, create a more integrated customer experience. You might have heard about this blind man elephant parable. And of course, if you ask, I hope you don't mind listening once more. I can call this as a blind man to, so what a king, he called a blind man to his palace and asked each of them to describe an elephant. One felt that they had, and then described this as a pole. The other one felt the tail and described it as like it's a whole rope. And more men, they came and they explained elephant as a pipe, as a pillar, and so on. But what they were not able to do was actually describe the elephant. And instead they started arguing to the point that each one of them started thinking they were the right and the other was wrong. None of them were able to separate their experience from their reality. The reality was just this ordinary picture that they needed to build together, but they needed to do it together to be able to see that they were actually touching an elephant. To be able to co-create, we first need to change this mindset and understand people's beliefs. Our beliefs are a construction of a reality we believe we live. We create them based on our own experiences. And when it comes to decisions, we just fight based on what we know. However, this knowledge is usually personal. It's based on our experiences anyway. How can we actually make our beliefs not blind us, as in the elephant parable? So this is something I actually read in a book of linear thinking from Dave Gray, where he says that you create the change you want by change the way we think, and give us in there he gives us a series of tools on how we can enable growth mindset in the contrapoint of keeping a fixed one. So Dave, he built this pyramid of layers that goes from reality to like from experiences to something that we call like obvious. The obvious can be also called the bubble of belief. And we know like a lot of people are living in bubbles and this is what we want to bring like people to the reality of actually what we need to solve. It's not what we believe, right? But what we want to get, like what we want to get done, right? What it would be good for all. So beliefs, we likely engage in assumptions, and these assumptions move us away from the reality. They might set some false expectations as well and lead us through frustrations, and of course, on these frustrations causing conflicts. Or even worse, some of your previous frustrations might make the team demotivated against or also challenging possible successful process outcome. So you can probably you saw in a moment like that people would come for a project, they'll come and they have a bunch of assumptions why things couldn't work. So of course, understanding each one expectation and being clear what we can achieve, like start from the beginning, helps to build trust and diminish conflicts, but not alone. We need to get the right tools and frameworks to engage the team and promote dialogue that will support enjoyable work, a journey, and we like a journey that will enable employees or like people, like teams, to deliver the best service experience. And I want to help you today to build this framework. So the co-creation, they has some building blocks, and goes like a dialogue, access, like a risk assessment, transparency. And I'm actually adding here respect. And this is something that is not on the source that it's displaying, like from Prahalan and Ramaswamy, but it's something that I learned through my journey, like practice journey. And so I think the main goal for us is like building a dialogue. And I want to talk about dialogue because it's more than listening, right? It entails empathy, understanding. It recognizes emotions, social and culture, and spatial context. Dialogue that leads to loyalty and builds trust. To build an effective dialogue, we need to provide a safe space and the proper ways to make interactions productive and also enjoyable. And for that, we need access. So competitive companies are looking at the maximization of access and concentrating in providing the best experience journey with their service. So the traditional paradigm is broken. What consumers are currently like looking for is not the ownership of the products, but access to the best experience. See companies like RBN, like Netflix, Spotify, among others. Customers give access to their data, and in exchange, they expect, of course, the best usage of it. But now, let's look access to the management and employee perspective. Access for them can mean the access to relevant information, data, and tools to effectively perform their work. Less bureaucracy to enable collaboration. Faster and more conscious decisions. So access keep us connected, right? Like able to go for information we are looking for. Another building block is the risk assessment. And it tends to articulate well like benefits, and we completely ignore, so basically we always tend to articulate what we are going to get, but we don't look that carefully on the kind of risk, or sometimes can eventually harm other people. Understand the whole impact of the what can happen, what can go wrong. And this might be caused by the speed of the market sometimes, right? We don't have time to do everything, but risk assessment is a very important piece. And of course, remember that risk can also be perceived, and they are more often associated with, let's say, with a purchase of service than actual good, because of this intangible nature. So creating service evidence, like really like service evidence, give it tangibility, diminish perceived risk. Risk can also come in a form of financial risk, time risk, performance, social, psychological risk. Why not talk about the transparency? So we talk a bit about access, right? But transparency is a big and important building block. So we need to be very clear about like security trendings, privacy issues, usage of information, like clear evidence of what consumers are purchasing, as well as our employees. Communicate the reasons you are taking specific directions, your vision, making goals clear, and shows how your companies get, how you're going to get there. Clarifying it's, for instance, like a person role in a project and how they are gonna help, or yourself, like how I wanna help. Make sure that everyone in the team knows what people are expecting, and what actually the company is expecting, the client expecting, and make it clear all these expectations. Be aware of the work and effort everyone is doing. And this is like something I like to bring to the table as well, which is respect. So let's assume that not all consumers want to co-create, or not all people love co-creation, and they have different timing for it. Because co-creation can be very consuming as well. You are there, you have this, you might have the safe environment, but you also exposing your ideas, and might be that some people, they don't feel good about that. So might be that not everyone wants to engage in first place, and in a kind of co-creation process, and we need to give people time. So they might want to consume this a little bit more passively, and this should be completely okay. What I'm highlighting here are like the benefits of engaging in this kind of model that will change the way we are interacting as a team and with our customers. We need to understand that sometimes people are busy, not interested, or even have other priorities. However, not contributing might not mean that they are not interested in successful results. Maybe they want to be informed. They might be just there to contribute wherever, like, the time they feel like. So having the space, having the access, and giving people time, and inviting for co-creation and respecting people's timing it's very important. We are acknowledging that anyone that is passive, you might just suddenly have urge, to get informed. And then we have this open doors for them. Each of these stages of a project might need for more or less collaboration as well. Keep always relevance in mind. Co-creation is not a get together, or like a meaningless workshop, or aiming to measure customer satisfaction. Remember, to engage people, we need to keep the motivation levels high, and having tangible results from each of the sessions, and our interactions and sessions are always crucial. So tell people why the reason you're meeting, what you're trying to achieve, get things very clear, and set some expectations as well. And let people also bring their expectations. Safe environment. So I like this. So as the co-creation flows, of course, like to co-creation flow, we need a safe environment. We need to make sure that the integrity and the safety of people. We need to guarantee the integrity and the safety of the people involved. I don't believe one size fits all, but that tailoring is always required. So knowing the people that are there and how they feel safe. We need to go together and go after the most viable and efficient ways for the team's members to collaborate in the customer dialogue with your customer. For example, looking at the physical attributes of a workshop room, make sure you have like fresh air circulation, like a white wall to draw, like, why not stick notes, comfortable chairs, large tables, hands-on, like just like large tables for hands-on work. Remember like the kind of activity and plan like how people will interact in this room. Remember to bring all the material needed, and the most crucial, everyone should feel good. Keeping people, let's say, keeping people hydrated. Have a and if it's a long workshop, have some food so they feel great. And it's not always good to talk about the rules, but setting rules for collaboration, it's very essential. Even though it doesn't look appealing, and maybe it might even sound constraining. The rules are simple and make sense, and you will number them. They look obvious, but it's always great as a reminder. I'll tell a few that we usually emphasize and promote, and they bring like more like it's just like highlights on like respect, active listening, empathy to the other's perspectives, always looking for like a convert, not and finding common grounds, make the best of individual work, and be present when collaborating. So no typing on the phone. As a tip, in our workshop sessions, play some like when they are doing individual work, like play a calm and why not like a very like a great music, for instance, and during the breaks, why not even like during the breaks, right? Since I think sometimes music, they bring this sense of actually evokes, right, like some moods as well. Remember also to keep like a positive speech, so telling like yes, but, yes, and so things that will add to the conversation, and make sure people are recognize you as a facilitator if you're facilitating the conversation. So I'm here to facilitate this discussion. What we'll be discussing here is actually a integrative piece of different perspectives, and I'm here to facilitate it and do this integration. And of course, try to remove everything that can be distracting. As I said before, like phones, like computers, like make sure people are present. And I actually talk about service design, and that co-creation is an essential piece of service design. But I wasn't sure that everyone is aware of actually the service design practice. So I wanted just to bring a piece of information here about it. So service design is a discipline that has co-creation in its core, and we use service design methods and tools to facilitate better collaboration and integrative thinking, enhancing customer values, and move forward with the best business models, bring context, and put managerial and operational teams together to deliver successful experience to their customers along their journey with the company brand, products, and service. And service design proves its value also when it comes to implementation. As a customer-centric approach, it helps to bridge business, strategy, employees, and customer knowledge on how to best move forward as a designing and improving the product and service experience. So service design is a human-centered, collaborative, interactive, sequential, and real, holistic. I think this is a more like another tip for you, like, and when we discuss about like recognizing you as a facilitator, and I want to highlight here that facilitation is a key. When we talk about being relevant, we're talking about getting the right people in the room, people that it's contributing, people that are involved, right? So we won't invite people just because they're nice, but of course, if you are inviting someone because they are creative or they have the money, but make sure that the person understand their role of like, oh, you'll be sponsoring this project, you'll be here as a creative, like minded, and we want to recognize you for that. So getting the right people in the room will enable the integration of ideas, but they keep neutrally in this process. It might look unfair if you pick a side. So if you're a facilitator, you cannot pick a side, right? You are there on those kind of conversations to facilitate. If you're a designer, you are part of the service creation, the product creation, this would feed you with information that would help you to even make sense, even more sense of what you're creating, to get you more informed and navigate through some kind of challenges that you'll be more informed about. So the facilitator will make sure everything is in place for this session. And they need to make sure everything you move forward and goes towards the goal. So if you have agenda, facilitators, you go through this agenda and help people to get engaged. By co-creating, I actually learned to use my expertise to define better the problem, considering source that we are not only coming from my past work or life experience, or even my colleagues in the science team. I learned to transform all these assumptions and hypotheses, things that we could validate and be more conscious about. I want to share some very quickly with you some of the methods and tools we use in service design. For instance, we probably have heard about customer journey. It's not exclusive from service design. We use for customer-centric work and help us to get overtime insights from the overall customer experience, which your product or service is going through. It will help you to identify unserved areas as well as discover critical and potential delightful moments. Then another tool we use is like ecosystem map that intends to map and understand what are the interdependencies and relationships of a service or a service network, and the value exchange and the co-value creation between these constituents in essential, which is essential to visualize as a baseline of this complexity we are tackling. And then understanding who influence, like it's important as well. So that's why we use the stakeholder map that kind of illustrate us the various like individuals involved in a service experience. It shows like target groups, employees, influencers, vendors, and in a variety of service ecosystem. And you might want to separate in a stakeholder map, like who is actually involved indirectly or directly to your service. Then we can talk about also about value proposition canvas. It's this one like developed by Osterwalder, and gives you like some certain clues that helps you to reflect on the customer pains, gains, tasks that they need to complete, and also help you to turn those pains to pain reliefs and like gains, creators, and present service that helps for you to improve this experience. It's all about like how we try to make this customer happy. If it's like, or I can say motivated, depending on what you're creating, or empowered. Then we can, another tool we use is the service blueprint. The service blueprint, it's extension of like my journey maps, and it captures what is happening in the front stage and the backstage of a service experience. It shows employees in process as well as support what is supporting this process. It can extend to how other stakeholder roles, such as like partners, multiple departments, and influencers interact in each of these service stages and touch points. Like the service blueprints, they can represent, of course, sometimes like what is happening in the business today, but also if you are working on like a product that doesn't exist yet, it helps us to build the scenarios on how these relationships will happen in the future. And then talking more specific about scenarios and future scenarios, they help us to visualize because how these services are connected with our target groups and and the device, like some situations that will inspire us and enable us to move forward these ideas we are trying to convey in this like in a business, of course, connect with business goals. They might look like cartoons. They might look, so there is a number of ways of bringing the scenarios and future scenarios for the kind of conversation, but usually they're very, very illustrated. Then, of course, like prototypes, making tangible demonstrations of the products and service. They, of course, they open, as people see things more tangible, the prototypes, they help us to visualize how the service you're gonna perform. And of course, prototypes, they may vary in size and complexity. So sometimes just like wireframes and or Wizard of Oz and things that we could play in a more low, I would say, like less fidelity level. But also there are like some prototypes that can be very high fidelity, and it's also depending on the kind of message you're trying to convey, you might choose the best way of prototyping your service. And then we talk about business model canvas, which gives like very relevant, let's say, building blocks for conversation as well, and give us this clues where we need to think about like what is the value proposition, how is the customer relationship, the customer segments, revenue streams, key activities, key resources. Of course, you don't define everything, but at least by having a glance on it, you know what kind of directions you need to take, and if you have all the answers you need. And as you're doing this in a co-creation session, people empathize that sometimes we might not have thought about something, or that we might need to go after information that depend on all of people in the room, for instance. What we are talking here is all about building a service culture that puts the individual in the heart of the matter. It's action-oriented and promotes creative thinking to problem solving. So of course, it sets failure, but empowers the fast recovery, because you are connected, you're informed, you're measuring risk. So you once things don't work, you are so conscious that you know what to do next. It co-evolve and in a knowledge environment to discover and mobilize expertise regardless of the job description. And here's actually a very important aspect, because sometimes we tend to discuss strategic things in the strategic empower like people in organization, but we rarely go down to the hierarchy and actually do it in a way that people that actually involved in acting and delivering the service, it's aware of these decisions. They might not empathize because they don't know why those decisions are made, or maybe it's not even considering like a very, very tangible things that happen on their day-to-day that would improve sometimes quickly. So why not to put the strategic people that are delivering the service, people that are involved in this customer integration to talk and, you know, and build this foundation. So in the service culture, individuals are really in the heart of the process, and management has a critical role on it. So investing in developing the capacity to competence on experiences. So helping people to get better on what they do, develop and articulate a clear point of view about the future. So really establishing like a vision and like ways of getting there, enforcing a mindset and skill set of management, and foster internal collaboration, support and nurture knowledge environments. And of course, line managers, they have to go deep in understanding like a little bit like a broad direction of the strategic intent of the company. They need to understand the relationships between their specific jobs and the company strategy purpose. And of course, continuously monitoring the experience of the customers and how they perceive it, and how if this value creation they're proposing here is flowing. And of course, continually adjust any action as demanded by the changes of the environment. It's really a shift on the way we do things today. And we all have a goal in delivering a compelling experience to our customers in co-creation. I'm sure co-creation is a source that energizes the whole organization. So let's make decisions with shared overview, integrative thinking as the source to concept definition and iterations. Experimentalism and like let's experiment and get out of the building. I think that you all heard about that, getting out of the building before, and gain insights and validate our ideas, measure the impact and performance of the business, products and service we're creating towards like a customers. And of course, employee satisfaction. Service design for me is a discipline that has co-creation as integral part, and is shaping the way we design products and service, and certainly will answer many of the questions of how to achieve and nurture a successful business. And to leave this talk, but not the conversation, of course, I will end with a quote from the book The Blind Spot, written by Dile Sherdrop and Sauber, 2016. Sorry if I pronounce their names like not correctly. So what they said, they're distracted by traditional metrics and mounting access to data. Leaders are blinded to what it takes to create greater value for their business, meaningful long-term relationships with their customers. Sorry, with their customers, and to complement that, I will add, to deliver exceptional value for customers, we need to equip ourselves and work as a team to provide these values. Even better, co-create these values together with our customer. So stick together and be relevant. That's my message today. Hey, thank you so much.